Hello everybody and welcome back. This is part 44 of our Trumpeter 1/200 scale HMS Hood build. Now this week hasn't gone according to plan. You remember in part 43 I thought I was going to be able to move on to doing the rig, starting the rig with the wireless rig which goes from foremast to mainmast. But you might be able to tell from the state of my voice that I've been a bit under the weather this week, and I've missed at least 2 days where I've not wanted to come and do any modelling at all. And I didn't want to expose my ailing throat to paint and glue spraying around in the atmosphere. So I've had to have a couple of days off and not got as far as I had hoped to do. The other problem was that I realised that a while ago when I built the foremast, I'd missed off the signals yards, which are here to the rear of the torpedo lookout, and they carry the signals halyards down to the signals platform below on the bridge, close to where the flag lockers are kept. And originally a lot of that rig for the signals yards was in etched brass in the Pontos set, and I tried to use the Pontos etched brass and I just couldn't get them to fit properly at all. I did manage to get them in place, but they just looked awful. They were all kinked and bent, and I just couldn't get them to lie straight as I wanted them to, so I ended up stripping them all out and replacing them with elastic thread, and they look a lot better now, and I managed after a long time to get the signals halyards fitted. The third delay I've had this week is that I've actually run out of rigging thread. I used so much on these signals halyards on the foremast that I actually ran out. It used far more than I expected it to. So I'm waiting for some more rigging thread to arrive to do the rest of the intermast rigging and the wireless rig. So there's nothing more I can do with that this week. So what I'm going to do is just skip ahead a little bit and finish off the ship's boats. I was hoping to do those next week, but just to keep the momentum of the build going, I'm going to finish those this week. So that'll be the 25-foot motorboats that have been waiting for completion for a good few weeks now, so I'll do those for the rest of the video. But before we go over to the bench and do those 25-foot motorboats, I'll just bring you in and show you how this foremast signals rig has gone into place. Okay, so this is the work that we've done on the foremast. These are the signals yards here. You can see how their only attachment is at the back here on the torpedo lookout, and that's a very delicate bracket, so it doesn't even hold the weight of the yard. The only thing that holds the yard horizontal is this stay here, so you can see how the yard wouldn't even support its own weight because of that tiny little bracket at the end. And it's designed, the Pontos set, so that you fit these stays here, fore and aft. So this is the forward one, and aft here, and also this stay here which goes up to the spotting top. And all those should hold the yard in the correct position. But to try and get all these pieces of etched brass at the right tension, all at the right time, on both port and starboard, I found it impossible really. I managed to get them all fitted, but they just looked a complete mess. They didn't look right at all. They were kinked and twisted. So I decided that I'd forego the authenticity of the etched brass, which had the blocks and tensioning connectors on it, and I'd forgo that detail for making sure that I'd got some nice tight rigging in place, which I've used this elastic thread for. So it's a balance. If you can get the etch brass to work and get it into a state where it's nice and tight, then good luck to you, but it's something I certainly couldn't do. The other difficulty I had was to get the signals halyards, which are these parts here, into the correct position. And at one time I had a thought, sorry about the shaking camera, at one time I had an idea that I'd be able to put a bar along the top of the flag lockers, which are these boxes here, and mount the halyards to the top, but that was far too ambitious, really. It's not something that I think would have worked. So in the end, it's not perfectly accurate, but I've ended up drilling 3 holes in the deck, and I've paired, there are 5 sets of halyards altogether, so I've paired a couple up for the outside holes and one going into the center hole. And you'll notice that they're also double cables, and that's correct for a signals halyard. They were just run up, the flag was connected at the bottom and run up to the yard at the top. This work here on the signals yards, the rigging support for the signals yards and the halyards themselves, took 2 afternoons of work to do anyway. And the difficulty I had was not being able to film that. There was no way that I could get the camera in the correct position and also do the rigging at the same time. It was impossible. So when I come to summarize the rigging in a video, I think I'm going to have to think of a different way of doing it rather than actually applying the rigging on camera. But I'll give that some thought. So that's a summary of where we are with the foremast rig. For the rest of the video, I'm going to carry on and finish those ship's boats while I'm waiting for the next batch of rigging thread to arrive. So we'll get over to the bench and we'll get those 25-foot fast motorboats done and ready for fitting to the model. Right, the next job is the 25-foot fast motorboats. We've 2 of these to do, and there's another 25-foot modified motorboat. It's got just a different cabin arrangement on it. We need hull E29 for these. Another spot of Mr. Surfacer. Are you watching, Nige? It's our favourite stuff, isn't it, mate? So these do look a bit more straightforward. These cabins don't have the glazing in them. That's slightly unusual. The bend that we have to make here is just a slight angle bend, and the fold line is on the outside. And I know it's the outside because we've got this open hatch detail here on the top. I may as well do the other one while I'm at it. It was fairly quick to do. So I wasn't concentrating there, I've bent that the wrong way. We might get away with this. No, we didn't. You see how much work that's going to cause, just not concentrating for a second. So whereas the first one took 2 minutes, this one's going to take an awful lot longer than that. The after cabin is again just a simple bend of the sides. Actually, I was a bit hasty there because the sides don't bend through 90 degrees. They splay out a little bit. And if we don't do that, they don't reach onto the sides. So they're quite straightforward, really. I'll do the other one off camera and we can get that into store then. These are the parts all ready now. These are the standard 25-foot motorboats with the enclosed cabins on them. So they're relatively straightforward, just these folds and a bit of soldering on these parts to do. This third one, which goes on the starboard side, is a little bit different. The cabin arrangement is different and there is more of an interior to this one. So we have the engine cover with the two benches next to it, and you can see we've made a little seat up for the front and some benches which go down the side. So that's a little bit different, but all in all we've got the three 25-foot boats there. So we're going to get them primed and then I'll come back and work out the paint schemes for these. Okay, so these are the parts for the 25-foot motorboats. There are the two styles. So they're all painted up, ready to put together. I'll start with the two with these enclosed cabins. And these have a bottom board to go in first. These are sometimes a little bit awkward to position. I've found that the best way to do it is to get the back in place near the transom and just allow the rest to find its own position. And I generally only glue these at the fore and aft end. So I'll take some thick super glue for this. They're very difficult to get into position, and that's because to try and get them flat, the saving grace of these is that you can't really see much of these bottom boards when the tops are on. The next are these benches which fit at the stern. So again, just some super glue on the aft end of this. Maybe just a drop on the front. And then these are the tops, or the top deck. Sorry about the sunlight. For these top decks, I apply some glue at the back and at the front and halfway along, just so that it tacks the deck down onto the curvature of the hull. So there's Those are the top decks in place. And then we have two cabins for these. This is an enclosed cabin. In this case, I'll apply the glue to the hull. And the same with this forward cabin. So I'll just leave those to dry for a while before I do anything more with them. In the meantime, I'll put this other one together. As you can see, this one's got a different layout. It's still a 25 foot, but it's got more cabin detail on it. Before I put this forward cabin windscreen in place, I just want to put the steering wheel in. And I'll just touch that in with a bit of the wooden deck tan with a brush. I'll put the propellers on next. I don't want to fit these flagstaffs until right at the end. They're bound to get broken off if I do that. The propellers for these motorboats are very, very small. But obviously you can leave those in brass and they just stand out a little bit. The next thing I want to do is to paint the rubbing strake along the side, just using some brown coloured paint. These were natural wood on the actual ship, so I'm using this Tamiya lacquer. It's called light sand. It's just a little bit different to the wooden deck tan, not too much. So I might have to come back in with a bit of the blue just to touch these up. It's very difficult to keep the brush on the moulding. So I'll just have to come back with the navy blue just to tidy a couple of little areas up there. Just do a couple of touch-ups on this one. I'll fit these flagstaffs and stuff now. Okay, so I think I'll leave those at that. But they've come out all right. I might do a little bit more touching up here and there in a while, but for the moment they'll do the job. So I'm quite happy with those. I'll just put those out on the board and I'll photograph them alongside all the other ship's boats. Obviously these need to have the crutches assembled, and I'll do that probably in a video next week where I come to fit the boats all together. Okay, so that's the full complement. These are the 3 25-foot fast motorboats, 2 35-foot fast, the Admiral's barge, the cutter with the gig inside, the large launch, I think that's a 45-foot or a 40-foot launch with the second cutter, a couple of whalers, and the large motor launch. So that is a 40-foot and this is a 45-foot. So they're quite a bit of work to put together, and I think it's worth it. They'll look nice when they go on the ship, which we'll do in the next video. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for this one. I'm sorry it's been a bit of a disjointed video this week, but the difficulties I've had during the week with not being able to get into the shed, and also the time it took to get these forward signals yards fitted, really derailed the plan for this week. I was hoping to get a lot of the rig done, but obviously that's not possible. But it was useful to be able to finish off all the ship's boats, which I've done now. So in the next video, which will probably be earlier next week, I'll do a routine video on Friday, but the next one I'll do a short video just fitting all the ship's boats. And I've also got a couple of things to do at the bottom of the main mast, ready for the rigging when I do come to do that. Hopefully health permitting and availability of rigging thread permitting as well. So that'll be coming up next week. I'll see you in another few days' time for the next part of the hood build. I might just get another Vulcan video in. But until then, stay safe everybody, look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.